Well, hello from Desert Hot Springs, California. Here's the two adventurous grannies that have been surviving or living well in a tiny house. And we're doing quite well on this trip. And Susan will tell you what we've been doing for the last few days.
Well, since we last videoed, we told you that we had found a place at the casino, and the next day we took off and drove several more hours, and it was getting dusk. We always say, well, let's get there before dark so we can kind of see what's around us. Oh no, we always wait till it's almost dark. And it was a very lonely stretch of desert. There's nothing to see, and maybe about every 25 miles there would be a service station, and that would be it. So there was a service station, and we pulled in there and saw that there were truckers that were lining a side road by that gas station, and we said, alrighty, if they can do it, we can too. So we pulled over, and that's where we slept that night. In the morning, when we...
And guess what?
What?
Susan didn't realize the next morning that we were parked right next to an orange grove with all these oranges on the tree.
I said if I'd known, I would have picked one.
And guess what? I had to inform her that Jesus says in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not steal. So it's a good thing I didn't tell her till the next morning.
Yeah. So we traveled that day, and as we were going down the road, we decided we had kind of picked Desert Hot Springs by then because one of the reasons for coming here was so we could sit in some hot mineral spa waters and hot tubs and swimming pools, etc. And we found a place on the internet that sounded pretty nice. And so we put it on our phones and found the address right away, tried to go in, but there was a gate. Finally somebody let us in, and we couldn't find any kind of an office right there, and some lady drove up and she tried to help us. She said, oh, I'll call him. So pretty soon someone else came in, and just as that lady drove up and says, I'm sorry, it looks like we can't let you in, and this guy and his wife said, oh no, he called me and told me to put him in number 51. Oh great, we got the last place in there. Wonderful. But you know, there was some suspicious activity going on there, and both Linda and I, into our own minds, said, I don't know about this place. It almost looks like there's drug deals going down. But you know, that's old grannies. Maybe we were imagining things.
And definitely these old grannies didn't want to be that adventurous.
Right. So we pulled in and we set up. The fellow that helped us find a spot and helped back us in. Oh, we did great. We didn't need his help, and then he kind of helped us get connected and everything, and we couldn't hook up the black hose because it didn't quite reach, but that's okay. We weren't desperate for emptying that black tank yet. So we stayed there that night, and the next morning we got up and we started walking around and talking to different people, and we got quite a vibe from that place. We came across an old fella. He was 78 years old, and he started telling us about this place.
And he had lived there for 8 years, so he was well acquainted with all the people and the happenings in that park.
Right. In fact, there are a lot of the older generation. This is supposed to be a 55 and plus resort area, and we noticed that there were young girls walking around with a dog and a bottle of beer in her hand in the morning, and there were...
She definitely wasn't over 55.
Oh,
in
definitely
fact,
not.
she looked like maybe she was part of the suspicious activities going on
That's
around
right.
there.
So Linda, when we got to this gentleman, after we talked a while, she says, do you think the manager is selling drugs? And he just went over and sat down and says, well, I don't think he's involved in it. Now, if you were to ask Linda and I, he definitely is involved in it, or is making a profit from it somehow, because we found his office surrounded by a chain link fence with two vicious dogs in there, barking, and you couldn't get to the quote office.
And one of them, he was so ferocious towards us. I was afraid he was going to be able to jump over the fence,
Yes.
which was a little bit scary.
And they said, "Oh, just holler out his name. He'll come up." Because we hadn't even checked in. Nobody. We just drove in and set up, and nobody came to check on us. So, after he told us some of the activities, Linda, you might want to tell those activities we learned about.
Well, he said, well, let me tell you, this used to be a beautiful resort, well cared for. The people who lived here were great and friendly. And he said in the last 2 years, since it's changed ownership and management, it has gone down tremendously. He said there is activity going on here that never happened before. He said there's suspicions of prostitution, which the residents have seen, drug activity. There was a dog bite just like the week before we came. A woman had been raped just a couple weeks before. And there were some scary looking people there. And I'm thinking, this definitely is not the park for the adventurous grannies. We were not interested in that kind of adventure.
He told us that the lady that had been raped, that if he came back, she had already gone out and purchased a rifle, and she was going to take care of him. And my daughter said, "Well, Mom, that's your problem. You and Linda forgot your rifles."
But the manager was supposed to come to our site the night before to give us, he said they had some extra extensions for the sewage lines so we could reach the sewer. Because my new little van had this extremely short tubing, and there's no way anything would have reached. And so we couldn't hook up. We had full gray and black tanks. We had no water by that point in our trip. And so because the manager didn't come and check us in nor bring us the pipe, we still had these full tanks we couldn't use. The things in our van. And Susan and I decided, okay, this is not the place for us, so we're going to just check out. And we told the older gentleman we had been talking to, we're thinking of pulling out without paying because we haven't gotten any services.
And he said, "You wouldn't be the first people to do that, but you would certainly be the nicest." That was very sweet of him.
Very sweet. So we were starting to get the van ready to pull out. And who should arrive but the scary-looking manager?
Oh my. If you could have seen him, you would have said, "Oh, get out of there quick."
So I let him have it. I told him what our situation was, and now we were going to have to leave, and we didn't know for sure where we were going to be able to empty our tanks. And I was pretty mad at him. Boy, did he start to hustle.
Yeah, he helped us quick dump our black water and gray water and did we get fresh water?
Yeah, I think we did fill our, yes we did, because
Okay.
you were going in the van checking
Okay.
to see if it was full.
Okay, that's right.
So
So we had to give him the $45 for staying there in a dangerous place. And we thought, well, now what are we going to do? Here on the internet, it had sounded so lovely. Well, as we're driving down the road, going back and towards town, all of a sudden Linda
of
goes,
Desert Hot Springs.
yes,
Yeah.
Linda said, "Oh, look at this place." I said, "Oh, that looks pretty fancy." So she called him up and she said, talk to him about on the phone, what was it like, and the lady said, "Well, how soon would you need to want to stay?" And Linda said, "Well, how about 5 minutes? We're right outside your gate." And she never told us a price or anything, and I'm worried the whole time this is going to be really expensive, and it just is so, compared to the other place, it was like a piece of heaven. And we went in there and talked, and she took all kinds of information. Finally, she
We
told,
still didn't know the price,
No.
but at that point we would have paid $100 a night to camp there.
turns out this was so much cheaper than the other place and so much nicer. Everybody here has been extremely friendly, and we feel so much safer here than we did in the other place. So these adventurous grannies are never going back. Don't always trust the internet, let me tell you.
So we feel like we're settling in here, and for now we think this is the adventurous grannies saying over and out.